What is up, everybody? JG603, owner and operator, of course, of Too Sweet Wrestling, TSF and W, baby. We are here for a very, very special show on this fine Sunday. Not only do we got some NFL this afternoon, but we have the first ever power ranking special for TSW. What's going to look like? So the game pre-generates some power rankings. We're going to mess around a little bit, keep track of them here on the channel, let you guys know who might be in a good place in terms of building some momentum. So, big roster. We're gonna lock in on the Too Sweet 25, the top 25 here in TSW. But to get there, of course, we're gonna have to touch on a little bit of the outliers of the rankings. So let's touch on those real quick. Let's get started. On the outside, looking in, we got a number of names here. We got Brandon 2K, Prodigy, couple guys in some tag teams, not getting a lot of wins, of course, though. Prod no longer in the tag team. Interested to see what's going to go on in the near future. That, of course, you can see above my head here. Someone on the other end of that spectrum, ranked a little bit higher at the moment due to the aggression. But up next, we got Chef and Fend, of course, both coming off big losses, not only at Elimination Chamber, but as well in that fatal four-way matchup, neither of which holding titles before, so they're gonna be a little bit lower. Speaking of a former champion, we got Dargan on the outside, looking at a lot of losses recently, but as his former Universal Champion, Karagi, similar spot as Dargan. Both men, by the way, will be in some King of the Ring qualifiers coming up the next couple of weeks, but at his current, is a former champion, but not currently necessarily at the top of his game. Talking about not the top of his game, maybe about as far as Pops could be from the top of the game, is going to be Jay Swanee, of course, former cruiserweight champion, struggling in the singles division, breaking up the tag team with one Stonicus, who we'll see later in the rankings. So, Swanee, you need to pull something out here, sir. You're slipping. Talk about slipping physically, not so much mentally. Oh boy, is he ever. We've got Rowdog, former two-time TSW Tag Team Champion and the 5-brand champ himself. Oh man, he's wreaking some havoc on the brand right now. He's coming off some losses though, including of course the ambulance match against one DJ Scorpio, which led to the events that we saw there. Raw's expected to be back on this Thursday's throwdown, so I'm interested to see what's next for him here in TSW. King of the Ring looming. Is he a part of that tournament? Yeah, I don't know yet. We don't know. Now, talk about someone who should be ranked higher, but has a couple tough losses in recent weeks. We're talking Steph, two-time TSW Women's Champion, top for a game, tough loss in Fatal 4-Way, and then a tough loss, I should say, surprise there against Awesome Kong, who debuted Knockouts champion. Curious to see how that thing shakes out here in the near future. Of course, Steph still has a shot at Miss Houdat. Awesome Kong will be a part of Miss Houdat and Steph's match at King of the Ring. Will we see other competitors join that matchup? Of course, this last week, Miss JG able to defeat Miss Houdat. Maybe that comes into play here. We're going to find out in the upcoming weeks on TSW Thursday Throwdown. And the final man outside the top 25, as it will also reveal the next man in the rankings and the first in the 2-3-25. Joker on the outskirts, looking in, turning on Prodigy. Excited to see what he's got next year on the brand. The 6-man tag, not really going to bring that up too much here. That's kind of a messy matchup to put some stakes on, so to speak, but Joker will be in a King of the Ring qualifier this week, so there's a great shot for him to either jump up or drop in the rankings. Talk about rising and falling in the rankings. As we got the one, the only, the Casio. Of course, great showing in the Rumble. Sorry about that quick little hiccup here. Came to us while we're doing this. Of course, put the stuff above it. You won't see who's next on the rankings. That makes way more sense. But anyways, touch on Casio. Of course, great show in the Royal Rumble. Tough loss to Stoney, though, in the King of the Ring qualifiers. Casio still got a little bit of shine left from that Rumble performance, so we're certainly going to see a little bit more Casio in the future. And talk about someone who had a little bit of shine recently. We're going to see some more in the future. Aforementioned Awesome Kong, Karma, Kia Stevens, as you may know her, Dominant Force, Knockouts champion. Of course, that's going to be unified at King of the Ring with the TSW Women's Champion. So Awesome Kong, certainly a big rank here. By the way, guys, going to get a quick little refresher. Shout out Rogue Energy, big part of what we do here for JG603 and of course TSW Too Sweet Wrestling. Make sure you use the code JG603 for all your Rogue Energy needs. 20% off. Heck of a deal, guys. Energy, hydration, whatever you may need, Rogue Nation is here to help you out. Fantastic. Moving right along here. Touched on this a bit. Talk about a former two-time champion. Talk about a man who's in a bad spot right now. We're talking DJ Scorpio. He's a peacock. You gotta let him fly. You know how he flew. But just like Icarus, maybe a little too close to the sun here. DJ Scorpio thrown 30 plus feet into a spotlight, explosion, sparks, glass everywhere. Broken glass everywhere. Just like Grandmaster Flash once said, although I don't think that really applies here. But DJ Scorpio on the back burner right now is NXT champion still. And just see how that plays out. As you know, TSW kind of closing off some doors at the moment. So where's that going to play out? What's his next couple weeks going to look like? I'm not sure yet. DJ expected back either this week or next. Certainly going to be nursing some injuries, though. I'm talking about someone who might be nursing, maybe not an injury to the body, but maybe to the ego. Was Champ. We're talking Canada's finest Deekster in at 22 here. Of course, Deekster holding the Cruiserweight and the X Division title, but losing it to now unified Cruiserweight champion LBJ. Deekster, of course, had some great showing so far in TSW. So tough loss, mind you. This last week, there was controversy abound. Referee may be missing something there on the pin, losing to Yimmy in the King of the Ring qualifier, but a guy like Deekster, he's a star, he's a stud, the people love him, he's gonna be right back towards the top of the card when he gets his opportunity. And opportunities, open challenges, as you will, it's gonna bring us to 21 at AJ. Tough showing against the Sauce Boss. We'll have a rematch in just a few short weeks, of course, at King of the Ring. Rematch in that 2 out of 3 falls inside Hell in a Cell, aka the death match. Can AJ win back that title, or will the Sauce Boss continue? And by the way, CJ's been getting spicy out here, and I like to see it. And nothing gets spicier than the girthiest of cheddar daddy-os, baby. Oh yeah, the girth. Of course, former BMI champion, nearly TSW heavyweight champion. People forget. This close, last man standing. Early on in the days of TSW, nearly defeating myself here, I should say, your former TSW heavyweight champion in that matchup. So Thick Chad, of course, never afraid to stir the pot. And we love that here in TSW, coming in at number 20 there. Of course, King of the Ring qualifier coming up, and just coming off a big tag team win. You know, you'd think he could be a little bit higher in these rankings, but we have some guys who've done a lot of good stuff here in TSW. Great history. Phineas and Herb coming off some tough losses last couple weeks, of course, but certainly still towards the top of the card. Is a former hardcore champion, so you got to keep a little bit of respect for one Phineas and Herb, the Goliath general. Only a matter of time before he sees himself fighting for gold once again. I can assure you that. And talking about fighting for gold in the near future, we're going to combine the next 2 entries, as we have Shrades at 18, Rowdy time at 17. Rowdy's got to be ranked higher, as Shrades has been the one to eat the balls as of late. But former TNA, I should say, tag team champions, of course, losing in the unification match to the Legion of Boom, Do Not and B Sanders this last week on Thursday Throwdown kickoff. If you guys haven't checked that out, make sure you guys check that out. Fantastic show, a lot of fun stuff. To me, the Grado segment stole the show. Not gonna spoil the whole thing, but that was cinema. But anyways, guys, they're gonna be facing off against the Legion Boom once again, just a couple weeks away. Once again, King of the Ring, the 26th of September. And talk about facing off in a title match at King of the Ring. Big time TS2, sweet. Oh, the girthy daddy, been number 1 contender for the BMI title for a couple weeks. He's been waiting as Landmark and Ched had their battles. Of course, big time coming off big tag team win and win at Backlash against the Hurricane. What's up with that? Did not expect that. Squashed him into the ground. But big time certainly on a collision course with the big ham, the big boss hand mark. Can't wait to see how that goes down. And talk about former champions. We're in a tricky spot right now. It's going to be JG603, where we're done in all white, the goodness battling the darkness right now. Certainly whatever the heck's coming after JG is not going to be ranked, if ever, certainly not at the moment here in TSW. But of course, former heavyweight champion does have that rematch clause ready to go, but a little bit tied up in some other stuff right now. We couldn't push him too far, too high up the rankings, so I feel like a 15 good spot to rest upon. we go to the man who does not rest. The fighting champion, fighting former champion, Mr. Benjamin, with some great showings as of late. Phenomenal 3 wins on one night at Backlash, wins again at Worlds Collide, but Boxy rematch clause, able to take the title back. Boxy, we'll talk about in a little bit, I can assure you that, but they will be facing off for one last time. Mr. Benjamin versus Boxy this Thursday. We're not waiting for pay-per-view. This Thursday, 20-minute Iron Man match. Mr. Benjamin versus Boxy. There will be a firm winner. There will be a firm champion, and the loser will not have a rematch against the winner. So if Boxy loses the title back to me, Boxy don't get no rematch. And even if it's a 1 fall difference, if Meme loses here, he's gonna be taking a step back. He's gonna have to find something else here to do in TSW, at least as long as Boxy is reigning defending champion. Up next, we're gonna go into some King of the Ring winners here, as we are at unlucky or maybe lucky number 13, as we have Capnurk in the house, coming off a big win against Jay Swan, former Cruiserweight champion, former Hardcore champion, former, by the way, 2-division champion. When we're talking Capnurk here, put some respect on my man's name. Gotta show him some love here, of course. Locked into King of the Ring. Not gonna be in action this week, but I assure you he is resting up, training up. He's gonna be ready for King of the Ring. Not sure, of course, who the bracket's how it's gonna fall, who he's gonna be facing off against, but very excited to see what's next for Capnurk, as he's been phenomenal to watch so far. And talk about phenomenal ones. Retro Yimmy, big win over Deekster this week. A little glitch at the end of the match there. I didn't figure out what the problem was. There was a rivalry situation. We'll try to get the video for that for this week's Thursday show, as it is going to play a little bit in the future. But Yimmy, just like Capnurk, locked into King of the Ring. Great showings as of late. Can he keep the momentum up? Will we see the Retro King Yimmy? We're going to find out and talk about one more man who could be a king in a couple weeks. We talk about the big man, Stony Stonicus, the Viking himself. He's big, he's bad, and he's got a shot at wearing not only that Viking helmet, but a crown upon the head as King of the Ring in TSW. Oh, can't wait to see how that King of the Ring plays out. Talk about can't wait to see how this plays out as we get into our top 10, which, by the way, you get attribute boosts here, +1. We're going to start off with a man who's main eventing this Thursday's Throwdown. Kinda had some bad luck at Backlash, but in hindsight, went from a 1 in 6 chance to a 50% chance. Although when you're going against the current TSW champion Animal, you got to think he's twice the man. So you got to think there's at least like a 66 and a sorry Steiner math. Anyways, going to the top 10, of course, we are speaking of the one, the only, the Sap Daddy. What a wild ride Sap Daddy has had. The ups, the downs, the ups, of course, losing to Animal in a Universal title match. Later on, winning War Games, getting the heavyweight title match. Oh, sorry, we ended up accidentally hitting the trigger, which jumped us down the rankings there. Little hiccup. Whoopsie poops. Anyways, of course, getting taken out before Elimination Chamber started. Animal taking his spot in that match. Animal getting some revenge against the congregation, though. I don't think it was necessarily Sap who did the backstage attack. I'm fairly certain that might have been one Fendler. But we cannot conjecture and assume, as we don't have any firm confirmation yet. Only assumptions, conjecture, thoughts, beliefs, if you will. You know what happens when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. So we don't want to do that. But Sap, this Thursday, one-on-one with Animal. Can he get some revenge after losing previously to this man? And will Sap be the 3rd ever TSW heavyweight champion? We are going to find out the main event of this Thursday's Throwdown and talk about possible future heavyweight champion. Talk about the Sap Daddy. We go to the Clap Daddy. Oh, the badass Texan himself. He's looking swollen. He's looking good, guys. Of course, winning that fatal 4-way, #1 contender for the heavyweight championship at King of the Ring. Will that be one-on-one with Animal? Or if Sap defeats Animal, it will be a triple threat, of course. Sap defending against Animal and Clap getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. Of course, Thursday Throwdown, going to be a big, huge, colossal title matchup between those two. By the way, we're not sure if there's going to be a stipulation yet on Animal versus Sap. we're gonna see how that plays out over the next week here. But Clap here, fantastic debut, great promo. Of course, we're talking the beer tapping, cheek clapping, master of the BDE, Clap Daddy. Love to see him in the ring. Love to see him part of here in TSW. Can he be the next champion? We're gonna know in a couple weeks, and I tell you what, he's gonna let you know about it. He's gonna let you know about. Make sure you guys keep an eye on all the social medias and the channel and the YouTube, Twitch, YouTube as well, as we'll probably have some goodies coming out soon. And that ends the non-champion part of this program as we go into our top 8 all champions here in TSW. Starting off at number 8, we're gonna have one half of the TSW Unified Tag Team Champions in Do Not. Of course, has looked great in the tag team matchups. Gonna clump him in, of course, with his partner in B Sanders. We're gonna put B Sanders a little higher because B Sanders has looked really good in the couple times we've seen him in the Royal Rumbles. And he, I'm not gonna say carry, but he definitely does a lot of damage in that tag team. So of course, got to show a little bit extra love to B Sanders. B Sanders Do Not, of course, gonna be kind of on the back burner, simmering until King of the Ring. Another guy a little bit simmering until King of the Ring. What do you simmer? What do you simmer? You simmer a sauce. Of course, we're talking CJ Sauce, the Sauce Boss. Normally, the Universal Champion would be locked in the top 5, but of course, CJ, big debut, defeats AJ, loses the next week's tag match. Kind of a funky spot again. We're not gonna put a lot of weight on that 6-man tag, but when we're you know, splitting hairs between him and the rest of the top 5, I think you'll see that this makes a lot of sense. Of course, technically 1-on-1 in TSW. I'll call it 1-0 as you may, but we'll be defending against AJ, rematch at King of the Ring. So we got a couple weeks to build up to that matchup. That's gonna be a lot of fun to see how that thing transpires, and talk about a lot of fun to see how these things transpire. We are talking not the 1 division, not the 2, but 3 division champ. Mrs. Hudat, the reigning BCOT Women's Champion, the reigning TSW Women's Champion, one half of the TSW Women's Tag Team Champions, 3 belts on one fantastic wrestler as Miss Hudat looks to continue some dominance. Tough loss this week to Miss JG, but you got 3 belts. Even coming off a loss, we got to show a little bit extra love. Of course, going to be unifying that in the Knockouts title, but technically for a moment could have 4 belts, depending on if she defends, of course, the BCOT Women's or the tag belts before then. We're going to see how that plays out. Until then, though, I think top 5 is a great spot for you. And now the last spot to get a +1, we go up to 4. Maybe some controversy here, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk this out. We've got Landmark in at number 4, just dominant as BMI champion as you can be. 2 phenomenal showing against Ched, but end of the day, has had bad luck in tag matches as of late. You know, you could maybe blame Khan a little bit on a couple of those, but you know, losses are unfortunately losses. And despite the dominance as the singles champion, is going to be on the back burner a little bit here. Not defending the title until I should say King of the Ring. And you know, that shouldn't be a punishment, but we got a couple people up here, possibly multiple brand, multiple time champions. And you'll see why we came to this conclusion. But at number 4, we got Landmark as the last +1. Up to a +2, we have LBJ, the Unified Cruiserweight Champion. Now, of course, LBJ, 2-brand champ, formerly Hardcore, and of course now the Cruiserweight, taking the X Division title as well, on his way to unifying these bad boys. LBJ, whole head of steam, coming off a win. Mind you, it was against Patrick Mahomes, but win's a win. Coming off a win, coming off a loss, it's got to be that way. It's got to be that way. You know what? These two could easily flip-flop next week if we see them in another tag, another singles competition. But for now, very, very narrow window. And talk about narrow windows. And this is where I really was struggling. The top 2. I think really the top 5, 6, top 5. I think could have been in really any order, personally. I think so. But you think Miss Hudak coming off loss, Landmark coming off loss, LBJ coming off a win, and talk about coming off a win. Colossal win. The first ever 3-time champion in TSW, as Boxy has captured the Hardcore title for a 3rd time. taking down Mr. Benjamin. Boxy does it again, gets the +2 bump, but of course defending in an Iron Man match in just a few days time against the former champ Mr. Benjamin. But if Boxy loses it, cannot challenge Mr. Benjamin as long as Mr. Benjamin holds this hardcore title on this reign. So that's going to be a huge pivot point in the top rankings, which of course a little bit by default here, number one is going to be Animal, your new reigning defending TSW heavyweight champion of the world. Gets that +3. Of course, maybe some controversy on his way to winning the title. Wasn't technically a part of that matchup. And by wasn't technically, was not a part of that matchup. Kind of inserted himself in the equation. But, you know, you got to think maybe a little bit of karma for the congregation. Maybe that was coming down on him anyways. And, you know, and it comes crashing down and hurts inside. Who is there? But it's going to be the Animal. Animal, number one on the rankings, of course, will be defending against Sap Daddy this week. We could easily see a flip of Sap to the top 5 and Animal to the bottom of the top 10 in one fell swoop here in TSW. But of course, end of the day, did pin JG, who has been number one in the rankings for quite some time. But with that, that's gonna wrap up the rankings here, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed our little ranking special, the 2 Sweet 25 power ranking special. We're gonna be putting out these every Sunday, scheduled probably 10 a.m. on Sundays. Give you guys a chance to digest this before you get into NFL kickoff. Of course, NFL season in full effect. Make sure you guys show some love on the YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Subscribing is free, so just click that button, baby. Get locked in. Check me out on Twitch TV. 1 to 5, Tuesday through Friday, sometimes Wednesday through Friday, sometimes Wednesdays off. Depends on the week. Sometimes we hit Saturdays. I don't know. But make sure you show some love there. Show some love to Rogue Energy. Use the code JG603. 20% off. But with that, I bid you adieu. Appreciate y'all. Y'all been too sweet. And I will see you Thursday for another killer Thursday Throwdown. Or if you're only watching on YouTube, of course, here, Friday, 10 a.m. on the dot, Eastern Standard Time. Really the only time zone. But I appreciate y'all. Y'all been the best. Y'all been too sweet. See you next time. Woo! Appreciate you.